Thanks for joining us this week. You are watching On Deck with DeRo Arch. I am Eric DeRosset. Alongside of me is my partner in crime here, Mr. Darren Archer. Coach Archer, how are you today?
I am doing well. Starting to feel like springtime and baseballs and softballs are flying all over the place. So, good time of year if you're a ball and stick kind of person.
Absolutely, it's a good time, and we're going to get to some Major League Baseball stuff here in a little bit. I think this week I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to start off with two or three just obscure things. I try to sprinkle these in every so often. The first one is not really an obscure thing. It's just a kind of a shout out. Baseball team at Univers- University of Missouri at Rolla on last check, and I think this was yesterday. They are 25-10, but they are 18-2 in conference play, and they are winners of 19 straight. So shout out to University of Missouri Rolla baseball Bulldogs. They are apparently playing really, really well. Um, to win 19 in a row in any sport is really difficult, but I think it's even more difficult in baseball.
Absolutely. And D-Row, we're dating ourselves. It used to be Missouri Raw. It's Missouri S&T now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
Yeah, thanks for the pickup. You're right.
back back in the day, you were absolutely right. Back
You're
when we
right.
were stomping on the sidelines, it was Missouri Rolla, but yeah, it's Missouri S&T now, and yeah, they've had a fantastic season. And
Yeah.
athletics across the board there at Missouri S&T is really their men's basketball program, women's basketball program, and athletics across the board is really on the up and up there.
Yeah. Thanks for picking me up there, folks in Raleigh. I apologize. You've been Raleigh S&T for quite a while now, and I'm still programmed to call you UMR. So my apologies on that. But we did want to give them a little shout out for their success there. And yes, to your point, it's just kind of seems like their athletic program in general is really strong right now. So good things going on in Raleigh, Missouri there. So congratulations to them. Come across kind of an interesting thing today. It has no relevance to you and I per se. Then we just understand the rigors of coaching. I read a little thing about Vermont University, Division I school. Their men's coach is a guy named John Becker, and he has actually taken Vermont to the NCAA playoffs or the NCAA March Madness a few times. I think six to be exact, over the span of 12 or 14 years, something like that. But the interesting thing about this article was that they have just hired his wife to be their women's basketball head coach. So the University of Vermont will have husband, wife, men's and women's head basketball coaches at their university.
Interesting. If they have young kids, I hope they have a very good nanny because neither one of them are going to be at home at all.
I mean, that just sounds like a lot, doesn't
Oh
it?
my
I mean,
goodness.
kids and kids, no kids, just life
Right.
in general. That sounds like that'd be a hard way to do it. But anyway, congratulations to them. Best of luck. It's just,
Or condolences.
yes, uh, that just sounds like for me. Obviously, their men's coach, the husband's had some success. So maybe they've got secrets and shortcuts that you and I never learned along the way. So
Right.
anyway, congratulations to both of them. The third kind of stat that I wanted to throw out, uh, Bobby Witt Jr. plays for the Kansas City Royals. He is, and this was a couple of days ago, but he has been on base 30 times this year. He has been stranded 29 of those 30 times, which in essence means he scored one run this year out of his 30 times on getting on base. That's not very good.
No, that's not the recipe for success because if he's getting on base, you want him stealing bases and then moving him into to score. And it just seems like Kansas City, their pitching has been pretty dang good up to this point. Um, most of the scores that I see come across for them are of the 3-2, 2-to-1 type variety.
Yeah.
And if they can get their hitting going, I think that's going to bump them up to kind of what we thought they might be heading into this season. It's early in the year.
Yep.
There's a lot of teams going through that right now, trying to wake their bats up a little bit, and I guess that their bats are eventually going to wake up. Now, if they're pitching, if it was just flip flopped or vice versa, that would be very concerning. If their pitching was struggling at this point in time of year, and they're just trying to outscore people, that makes for a tough formula to win. But I think it's fixable. I think it will
Yep.
correct itself, and I wouldn't be too concerned. Like I said, we've talked about this past couple of weeks. I don't really get too concerned with wins or losses this time of year. Now, somebody has said in the past, you're never going to win a World Series in April, but you can sure lose one. And you just hope that they don't get behind the 8 ball too bad and dig themselves a hole that it's tough to get out of moving forward throughout the rest of the year.
Agree. And you mentioned this off air. Jonathan India, who's a former Red player that I really liked for the Reds, he is not known for being just an offensive guru in terms of like he's not the kind of player who's just going to carry your team offensively. But right now for the Royals, he's probably the biggest threat they've got offensively outside of Witt, obviously. So again, no diss on India, but like they're probably not going to win big if he's your guy. And right now he's kind of their guy. So obviously pulling for him, and I want him to be successful, but Royals fans and all of baseball knows that he's not the kind of guy that's going to carry him. So hopefully their bats turn on, and I'm like you. I think they'll come around. They've got some guys that really swing it, and I think they'll get better. I'm going to stick with the baseball theme a little bit. In the American League, this is interesting to me. I'm going to reference 3 teams here: the Tampa Bays, the Twins, and the A's. All 3 of those teams are slightly above 500. Twins are actually 11-7. But all 3 of those are either 7-3 in their last 10 games. So it's interesting to look at the standings and see maybe Boston at the bottom and Tampa Bay at the top. So interesting, and I'm going to throw this one your way. You've watched the A's a couple of times this year, and while we don't think they're World Series champions, man, they're a threat. They really swing it. They're pitching it a little bit. So just general thoughts on some of these lesser known teams having some early success.
Yeah, I think that as far as Minnesota is concerned, the fire sale makes sense now that they had at the trade deadline last year. It's given them the opportunity to bring up some young kids, get them some experience. They're playing to be able to stay up at the big league level and playing with their hair on fire a little bit. And with each of these teams, also their pitching has been pretty solid. You talk about the A's, they've piecemealed together a pretty good starting rotation, middle relief guys, and even deeper into their bullpen, and they're just putting up runs. I mean, they're playing contact baseball and moving runners, and been fairly selective at the plate, and they get a couple guys on, and they've got some guys that can stick it over the fence in a hurry. So it seems like when their guys make contact, it's being hit hard, and it's not necessarily being hit at somebody if it's not being hit over the fence. So I would put the Pittsburgh Pirates in that as well. Their bats are hot. They're scoring runs. One strength that you thought that would obviously rise to the top would be their at least their frontline guys on the pitching staff. And Keller got lit up yesterday, but they were able to get some bats going, and Um, yeah, that's what I love about baseball. You know, you see these teams that have struggled in the past, and due to the selective trades that have taken place throughout the course of 2 or 3 years, and then their draft, um, getting better at the draft or through the draft, has made some of these teams that we normally think of also rans that maybe once in a while catch lightning in a bottle. Well, they've caught it this year, and Tampa Bay's I watched them play a couple times in the Yankees series, and their defense is very good. Their pitching is very solid. They've got some guys that can hit the baseball, and they're not everyday household names that we think of, when we talk about who are some of the top players in baseball, but they're stringing along hits and moving guys on the base paths. And that's a team that I think may sustain that is Tampa Bay.
That's always, I think it's good for any professional sport, but particularly for baseball, I think it's always good for it not to always be the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Phillies that we're talking about. I think it's good for fan interest and all those kind of things when some of these teams sort of rise to the top, have some success. I think it makes it fun. You mentioned the Pirates. Yeah, they're sneaky good. And if you get some back end rotation guys to be just guys that eat innings, give them 6 innings and they give up 3 runs or whatever, their offense is good enough to maybe to win it late. So that whole division, we've talked about that whole NL Centrals. I mean, it's up for grabs. I think any one of those teams can be competitive in that division. I'm going to reference the Dodgers again. In their division, they are 13-4, and the Padres are 11-6. So those two teams, I don't know about Padres payroll. It's got to be top 5. I don't know where it falls exactly, but I mean, those teams are paying for their players, and the results are kind of speaking for itself. So, always fun this time of year to kind of see what's early and far enough into the season where the dust does start to settle a little bit. In my mind, May 1, maybe May 15 is kind of the time where it starts, the separation starts. So I think we're really close to that. I think baseball as a whole is in a really good spot. Major League Baseball. You've mentioned before the contract negotiations in terms of is there going to be a lockout and all those kind of things. If that happens, that's a killer for them. I think baseball's on the way up, and got to find a way to work that out.
Yeah, I don't see it. In the CBA or collective bargaining agreement, I just think that it's really going to be tough for the players and the owners to come to a mutual agreement. I think the owners are wanting salary caps. The players, rightfully so, want nothing to do with it. Yeah. And I just think the lockout's looming. Enjoy baseball this year. And I think part of the reason why the lockout is looming is you've seen the Dodgers the last couple of years. They've won their division. I saw today they've won their division 9 out of the last 10 years. And so it's been heading that direction. The thing of it is they're playing within the rules. They're just doing it a little better than what everybody else is. I mean, they they have put together probably one of the, if not the best, one of the best offensive lineups together that I can ever remember. Maybe the Big Red Machine, with Cincinnati Reds back in the mid '70s. I try to think of any other team since I've been involved with baseball that has from 1 through 9 in their lineup would be hitting 1 through 4 in any other lineup in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I agree with you. Their lineup, and I thought about that a ton when they were playing the Blue Jays last year in the World Series. Like every batter is a tough one. I mean, you're as a manager, you're sort of playing, okay, hey, we're going to go with this matchup. When we get to the 7 hole, we're going to do this. When it gets back to the 1 hole, like none of that matters against them. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it's definitely a whole different game to try to manage against the Dodgers and do some of those sorts of game balancers where you maybe get an advantage with the Dodgers lineup. In my opinion, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Like you just can't. You can't count on matchups to buy yourself an out or to get an advantage here or there. They just swing it too well 1 through 9.
Well, and you take a look at their pitching staff, and it's it's darn
Yeah.
good as well. Their only weakness that I have seen to this point would be their middle relievers. Just those jump from starters to bringing in your closer. That I think is probably, if there is a chink in the armor for LA, I think that's it. Other than that, man, I don't see any holes. As long as they stay healthy, I just don't see any holes that they have. I mean, think about it with their starting with their starters. Blake Snell is on the IL right now,
Yeah.
former Cy Young winner. Um, Probably had his coach left him or his manager left him in the ball game as probably a World Series winner and World Series MVP. And I mean, he's sitting on the shelf right now, getting healthy. So,
Yeah.
the hits just keep coming. There's bullets in every holster, and they're. I mean, it's going to have to take a major collapse for them not to be. And that's the great thing about baseball. You throw the ball out, and you play. You got to play. We thought they'd run away with it with the World Series last year, but it ended up being going down to the last couple
Yeah.
of innings, and boy, they've added some more tools to that lineup on offensively and defensively, and where they're good, they're really good.
Yeah. I mean, this is as simple as it gets. They are 13-4 without a Cy Young guy. I mean, just think when he's back. Um,
Right.
uh, you know, they're just really good. And hey, we're both rooting against them, if we're just being honest. But we're not alone in that. I mean, there's a lot of people rooting against them, but I'm with you. I think they got a real chance to repeat as champions, which later on, I just tied that in, but later on, I've got hold them and fold them for you regarding repeat champions in professional sports. So I'll use
But
that.
in DeRo, I think here's a problem that is looming if we go make full circle and go back to the CBA that's going to happen. I think it runs out December 12th, and negotiations will start between the league and the Players Association. If Los Angeles wins it again, I think the fans are going to, in their mind, think what Los Angeles is doing is not right.
Yeah.
I didn't say illegal, not right,
Right.
not fair. And there's some of that now. But I think if they win the World Series again, I think a majority of the fans are going to be on the owner's side of Major League Baseball side, and probably kind of go against the grain and against the Major League Baseball Players Association, and probably demand for a salary cap.
I agree with you. I think think the fans, there will be a definite fan reaction if the Dodgers win it a second time or 2 times in a row. They've already been dominant over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so you're right. I think people are there's going to be this outcry that, hey, this isn't fair. We want fair baseball. I think
Right.
it's instantly going to, and and the fans going to want some sort of governing rules that sort of spreads this out so there's more parity. And you're right. They may be too far apart. The two sides may be too far apart to ever come to an agreement before a lockout does take place. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that may be what it takes to get the attention of both sides.
Yeah.
You may be right. We may want to enjoy this summer because we may not get it much next summer. Speaking of finances and salaries and so on, you're not talking off air. I'm going to switch to NCAA basketball. You and I have talked a ton and we've theorized about this and that and the other and one of the things that I saw, and I'm going to let you run with this after I sort of create this premise. There's a transfer out of San Diego State. You're going to have to remind me of his name. Do you remember? It's an interesting name.
Oh, what was it? Magumba Gathwa or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting name.
He's on the all-name
He
team
was,
this incoming year.
apparently, yeah. We can't even remember it.
Right.
He was slated for, and this is all what we read in the media, so who knows? But he was slated for a visit to the University of Kentucky. And some of the things that we heard associated with that, whether these are true or not, but it was going to be an incentive based NIL agreement in which that he would get maybe some money for staying an extra year, maybe seeing it through to his senior year, making the all conference team. He would get perhaps um, some pay based on their success in the NCAA tournament. So if they won round one, he might get so many, and then another chunk of money if they won round two, and so on. As it all turns out, that was for nothing because he actually committed and is transferred to Paul University, which is a throwback for if you've been around college basketball. That's 30 years ago or so since we've really talked much about DePaul basketball. So I think where I'm going with this is talk to me about this idea of maybe some really heavy incentive based NIL transactions between players.
It sounds to me like DePaul got out ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
That is ingenious. And to be able to draw a kid like that from Kentucky to DePaul. Now there was a day and time, like you said, back when we were knee high to a grasshoppers, both DePaul and Kentucky, obviously,
Right.
were all that in a bag of chips as far as the NCAA tournament was concerned. Mark Aguirre and Cummings and man, I used to be a huge fan of DePaul back in the day.
Ray
But
Meyer was coaching them. And
Ray Meyer, and yes, absolutely.
Rod Strickland, did he go to DePaul?
Rod Strickland, I believe, did. Yeah.
There's some names, right?
Absolutely. And, but in this day and age, DePaul for the last 3 decades has really fallen off the face of the basketball map. And I think they're pretty smart on how they're approaching their NIL money, making it incentive based. And I think one of those incentives was, I believe he has 2 years of eligibility left. He will be a junior. He automatically gets 1.5 million if he comes back his senior year. So now you're probably not too worried about the kid leaving after he takes a gob of money from you. I think it was an average, or it was a total with incentives, $8 million over 2 years. And I mean, obviously, that's pretty ingenious. You're holding the kid to a standard, and he controls his own pocketbook, basically. He controls the money that goes into his bank account. And um, hey, if the kid does not meet certain standards, that money goes right back into the NIL pool
Yep.
for other kids or future use or whatever you deem necessary. Um, I think we'll see a lot of that. I did see a quote. We talked about this. The young man's name escapes me, but he's a point guard for BYU. Put his name in the portal, and they were talking to him. He's generated a lot of interest from the University of Kentucky. Um, he basically had a quote, and I think it was attributed to him that said, "Hey, the best thing we as players could have happen for us is that after each year is over, every player in the NCAA that is involved with NIL becomes a free agent." He said that's basically what is happening now. Why not just make everything 1-year contracts? We play for that contract, and at the end of that year, everybody's on a level playing field. You go out and get who you can get, and it somewhat makes sense, and that's from a player standpoint. I really think DePaul has found the key, though. I think if you can tie that NIL money to incentives, and how ingenious is it? Hey, come back to us next year. You got 1.5 million on top of you know what you're going to get your senior year, what you could
Yeah.
potentially earn your senior year. That's to me, that's the way. Um, a kid controls his or her own fate with the NIL, and it also with the incentives of, hey, each game we move on in the NCAA tournament, you're getting 30,000 more dollars or 50,000 more dollars. Hey, all of a sudden now you've got a group of kids that are going to be incentivized and come together as a team to make the NCAA tournament and to win that game when you get to the NCAA tournament. And to me, that's ingenious.
I I'm with you. If this is really the sort of the way it's played out, which is what we read, yeah, I think this is a new standard. This is a new way of doing it. And I'm it's going to be interesting to see if DePaul. You just got to wonder if they don't have another kid or two, maybe like close that they're about ready to sign with the similar circumstances, which would speak to your point about them being ahead of the curve. Um, and I'm going to take this back. The purpose of an NIL was for them to get financial, sort of what they felt like they were financially due based on their name, image, and likeness. So basically, they're, hey, I'm playing for a university. I'm getting them all this attention, so I deserve a piece of pie. Okay, that's the premise, which sounds. Some people think that's a me sort of way of looking at it. You and I don't particularly agree with that. We just feel like the kid deserves a chance to leverage his skills and his popularity as a player. But what I think it does do is does put a little. You said the word accountability. It kind of it kind of does give the people that's offering him the money some way to sort of control his or her performance. Like, okay, yeah, we believe in you. We want you to represent us, but we need X, Y, and Z to happen before you get all your money. So I think it levels the playing field maybe a little bit on both sides. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely would agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, it's the professional model.
Yep.
And they were just smart enough to move it down a level to the collegiate
Yeah.
model for them. And I really think that works. I mean, if you're wanting
Yeah.
to get good talent on campus and be able to incentivize them individually and collectively, and also incentivize them to be able to come back if they've
Yeah.
got another year or two of eligibility left. Shoot, yeah, throw $1.5 million at them. You're saving probably double that in having to go out and recruit a new kid to bring him in for $3 or $4 million.
Yeah.
Makes sense to
And
me.
yeah. And the thing I just thought of, probably our biggest complaint, you and I, complaint's too strong, but the thing that we miss most about the way it used to be, quote unquote, is we like the same kids sort of coming back multiple years. Well, this is a way maybe that happens. Maybe that you really like stays on your team for 2 or 3 years now, whereas before they weren't. And then the last thing I'm going to finish with on this topic is I looked at this transfers numbers. I mean, he had solid numbers. They weren't off the charts. And so let's just use his situation as sort of the broad example. Um, Based on those numbers, unless he's just got a ceiling that he's heading toward that he just hadn't reached, he's probably not an NBA guy, at least on the whole, right? I mean, and so this is the time for him to leverage, which is really what NIL is about. This is the time for him to leverage his and max out his potential. And so universities are like DePaul, they're smart for that. They know, hey, this is the best it's going to get for this guy. And I'm not saying he won't go on, but I'm just using an
Right.
average athlete. Like if he's got a chance to make 6 or 8 million right now, he's probably got agents in his ear that you better take this because it
Right.
it may not get any better than this for you. So that part of it is an interesting piece of it too. Like to pay guys that are really close to being professional players, but not quite. Can we go out and get them and keep them 2 or 3 years rather than bidding on the guy that we know is just going to be there 1 year? So you're right. I think that may be the model. I think that's got a chance to be the model and that way teams can build 2 or 3 year kids, several of them, and keep them. I mean, UConn's kind of doing that now, but like that's the exception. It's not the rule. So lots of just interesting with that whole situation that I probably had before, honestly.
Absolutely. And like I said, hats off to DePaul. I think
Yeah.
they hit the nail on the head. Um, and this is a copycat business. Start looking for
Yes.
more incentive-based NIL offerings moving
Yeah.
forward, especially with those teams that may not have the deep pockets that some of these Power Five schools have. That are at the
Yeah.
top of each Power Five conference. So, hey, that's just creative.
Yes.
That's in this unstable time, creating some stability within your program, and it also kind of puts the onus back on the player. Hey, we're going to pay you this,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to earn it. And
Yep.
to me, that's the way it should be.
Yep. I mean, I like it. Just there's some money sitting in an escrow account somewhere
Yep.
that's designated for such and such athlete based on these four things. And if they hit two of those uh, sort of bullet points, they get the amount that's due them, and the rest of it goes back to the NIL budget, and they start over.
That's
I
right.
think it's really, really, really good. So,
Agreed.
be interesting to watch. I'm going to stick with basketball just for a second here. NBA playoffs, the playing games are going on as we speak, literally. The full-fledged NBA playoffs out this weekend. Top four seeds in the East are the Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, and Cleveland. With the exception of the Bulls, that sounds like that could be the top four seeds out of the mid 1990s. Pistons had the bad boys during that. Knicks had Ewing and John Starks and that collection of guys. Cleveland actually had Mark Price and Brad Daugherty and some of those guys. So it's interesting how those teams are kind of back in the mix. In the West, it's the Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets, and Lakers, I believe, as the top four. Just early on, you team that you think wins all, just off the cuff.
Gosh, just off the cuff, I think it's Oklahoma City's to lose, provided they stay healthy throughout the playoffs. Been there, done that. They've had a lot of success. They've got everybody healthy right now. They have the parts and pieces to be able to do it. Um, I just think Oklahoma City's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I mean, I feel like as I name those teams, while I'm nostalgia about them in the East, the Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, and Cleveland, I just don't see any of those coming out of the East that wins that whole thing.
Right.
I think out of the West, you've got a couple of teams that could, the Nuggets are always a threat to get there. And so I just think the West is stronger as a whole. I think if you can survive the West, then you can win the whole thing, would be my opinion on that. So always a good time. I enjoy the NBA playoffs, especially the early rounds of playoffs. I think it's fun to watch. So. All right. We have come to the point in the show which we like to call Hold 'em or Fold 'em. I've got 2 or 3 scenarios for you tonight, Darren, and I'm going to give you a premise, and then you need to sort of tell me whether you're going to hold the premise or whether you're going to fold it, and then we'll have a little discussion about each one of those right after the fact. So the first Hold 'em and Fold 'em. The premise is, the background is LeBron James is on the second year of a 2-year deal. I think it was 2 years, 104 million. I don't know if I could get by on that or not, but I'd sure try. 52 million a year.
I'd fire
Tough.
my agent.
Yeah, for sure. I'd hold out for more money.
Right.
So so here's the hold 'em and fold 'em. LeBron will play in 26-27, and he will be a Laker. So it's twofold. He's going to play. He's not going to retire. And when he comes back, he's going to play for the Lakers. Are you going to hold it or fold it?
As far as him going back to the Lakers, I'm going to have to say fold him. And let me explain why. I think he will continue to play, or he will want to continue to play. I just think Los Angeles is going to want him at a discounted rate. And there is going to be some other team that will try to pay him above what LA is going to offer. So I guess I'm folding on him going back to LA, but I'm holding on him playing for somebody next year. I hope I answered that correctly.
You did.
Or I shouldn't say correctly, but answered your questions.
You did.
Okay.
I think, I think and it's interesting too, you just don't know how big of a piece Bronny is in all of that. Like, that's an interesting dynamic. Because if he doesn't go back to the Lakers, is Bronny even in the league? I mean, I'm not a Bronny hater. That's not what I'm trying to do here. In fact, I almost have sympathy for him because what a hard place to be in. And let's be honest, the Lakers and Bronny's dad probably didn't help that. I mean, he's got a bullseye on him, and there's actually a lot of people that just sit around and root for him to fail, which is unfair to him. But the interesting piece of that is, okay, hey, if the Lakers want him at a discount rate, which I think they would. I mean, I think that's a business decision they need to make. Does he think about the discount rate more seriously based on Bronny? Does that figure in? Is Bronny even on the team next year? Like, it's complicated for him, and he plays in 26, 27. I just don't see it in the Lakers, but I think it's really complicated, that process, because of Bronny's presence
Yeah,
in that whole
it's a
situation.
messed up tangled web,
It
and it'll
is.
be interesting to see how it plays out. I agree completely.
Yeah. And again, like, I'm just going to put this out there. Like, I feel sorry for Bronny. And
Agreed.
there'll be people watching our show that be like, well, how can you feel sorry for him? He's, worth millions and millions of dollars. His dad may be the most famous person on the planet, and so on. But I just feel like he's in a really tough spot, and people are just rooting for him to fail. And
Yeah,
nobody likes to feel that way. So
right.
hold 'em and fold 'em number 2 for tonight. We talked about LeBron and whether he's coming back or not coming back. Um, Regardless, LeBron is probably at a crossroads in his career where he's going to have to start thinking about, hey, am I done or am I playing? Okay. With that being said, I think he's probably the face of the NBA, or at least has been for the last decade or so. Um, let's say LeBron officially retires or gets out, and the NBA sort of needs a face. Is on this one, Fulham is that Wemby from San Antonio should be the new face of the NBA moving forward. Are you going to hold him or fold him?
I am going to hold them, but I'm going to have to bluff a little bit with that hold.
Okay.
Okay, and why I say that is I think the face of the NBA will be a foreign player.
Mm-hmm.
SGA from Canada. I mean, you would think with the success that he's had, the problem he has is he's playing in a small market, um, on a small market team. Um, you normally think of the face of programs being from your bigger market type. So you can think about Luka Doncic
Right.
uh, with the Lakers. If he can stay healthy, does he become that? Jokic
Right.
from Denver,
Yeah.
Antetokounmpo from who knows where he's going to be next year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I do think it will be a non-U.S. citizen, um, or U.S. born
Right.
player. It'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. Wemby is a very likable player, and I love the way he approaches the game.
Yeah.
He goes. I mean, even in the All-Star game, most people are sitting back and trying not to get hurt. Hey, he's playing.
Yeah.
He's playing to win, and that is one thing that has been a refreshing change. Um, Seeing some of the young kids come in and not take that approach to. And I don't want to say that controlling your load throughout the course of a season is not important.
Right.
But at the same time, I just like the way he approaches the game.
I
Load
agree.
management, um, whatever. He goes to play and to win. And it's not necessarily about him, it's about the San Antonio Spurs. And
Right.
that's one thing I really like.
Let me throw this to you. And I just had this thought. You and I did not talk about this off the air.
Okay.
So, like, this is truly off the cuff. Like, is it too soon to think about Cooper Flag as like, does he fit that yet? Like, are we there yet with him?
Does he have the potential? Absolutely, he does. Absolutely, he does. Number one, he's still a teenager.
Which is crazy, right?
It is very crazy. I mean, you think of Yaxel Lindenberg, who was the outstanding player for Michigan, is 5 years older, or I'm sorry, 6 years older than what Cooper Flag is.
It's
And you talk
unreal.
about somebody who transferred to probably being an overseas type player, G League type player, to being a lottery pick.
Yeah,
Lindenberg made himself a lot of money this year,
sure did.
but he's coming in the league at 25 years old. I think eventually Cooper Flagg could be that guy, provided he stays healthy. And Dallas gets back to the playoffs and they win one or two. I think he can become that guy. Absolutely.
I agree. And I think it can happen fast. I
Yeah,
don't know how to define fast, but like within a couple of years, I think he's
sure.
top 5 in the game,
Yeah,
for sure. He's a phenomenal player. For whatever people are really drawn to him, he has a huge fan base already. I
yeah.
mean, he's really well liked in terms of NBA players. So interesting to watch. I do agree with your assessment that the NBA is really trying to go global sort of feel to their sport and being really
Yeah.
inclusive of other countries and their players. And so I think it sort of does make sense to go that direction in terms of the face of the NBA a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and you and I both know that the players play themselves into that role. I mean, you can't just assign somebody that. I mean, the results got to be there. Wemby's results are going to be there. I mean, he's
Agreed.
proven that he's a guy. So, last hold'em and fold'em of the night. The most difficult professional sport to repeat as champions in is baseball. The most difficult sport to repeat in as champions is baseball. Hold 'em or fold 'em.
Due to what we talked about earlier with the Dodgers, I'm going to say fold them.
Mm,
They're working on their this year. If they win the World Series, it's their third in a row, and I think it throws that logic completely out the window. Now,
yeah.
repeating is tough. Going
Oh,
back to back is tough. But they're at a dynasty level right now, and blame it on whatever you want to, but you can't blame it on Dodgers front office because they are playing within the rules.
yeah,
You know, um, I'm fold them
yeah.
for those reasons. I think in the current day and age, football is in the NFL is probably the toughest. Um, and the reason I say that is because 3 or 4 short years ago, we thought the Kansas City Chiefs, and it wasn't just us, it was pretty well nationwide, kind of thought the Chiefs could reel off, uh, 5 or 6, maybe not necessarily in a row, but do the New England Patriots type,
Yeah,
uh, you know, win a bunch of titles. But I think that has changed. They've kind of got it figured out in with their draft process. Um, Now you're still going to have the same problems that the NBA does with tanking,
right.
uh, but at the same time, I still think it's no matter how bad you tank, you've got to have success at more than one with more than 1 or 2 people in your draft,
Yeah,
and there's multiple positions offensively and defensively. I just think that's you've got to hit on a lot of your drafts and a lot of your trades. You can't have very many misses and expect to win a Super Bowl.
yeah. I agree. I agree with all those sentiments. I do think it's really hard to repeat in baseball, um, and until the financial things get a little more leveled out, I can see a team as in the Dodgers getting to a point where they can win 3 out of 5 years or 4 out of 8 or something like that. Um, you're right. In football, I'm just not sure that a New England Patriots type run is ever going to be done again. I think there's just, like you said, too many factors like
Yeah.
just too many variables in football that just can't be controlled. So I agree with you on that scenario. I would probably fold them on baseball, although I will echo your thoughts. Super difficult to repeat there as well. So, well, I think that's all I have for this evening. That's the last Hold'em and Fold'em I have for you. I try to give you 2 or 3 of those a week to give you something to think about. So hopefully those challenged you a little bit tonight.
Absolutely. They always do.
Yeah, good, good. Well, Darren, it's been a great show. Enjoyed visiting with you about the sports that are going on right now. Um, I am going to mention Missouri S&T again, as just as I thought about that over the course of the show. We spent a lot of time talking about building teams and NIL and is it hard to repeat in this sport or this sport? Uh, all those things really come down to competition and success. And so the fact that Missouri S&T has reeled off 19 straight baseball games, uh, majority of which I would guess have come in the conference ranks, which it's always tough to win in conference. It doesn't matter what conference you're in, doesn't matter what sport it is, what gender, like it's tough to win in your conference. So I did want to throw, some more love out to Missouri S&T for doing some great things on the baseball field. So Darren, any parting shots before we bring this to a close?
Just, hey, thank you, viewers and listeners. We appreciate your continued support. And hey, help us out by going to our Twitter account. You'll see them listed there on the screen, our Facebook account, our YouTube channel, and hitting subscribe, follow us. And we, once again, can't do it without you. And I really appreciate your support up to this point, and I want to keep growing this so that we can keep bringing things that are happening throughout the sports world to the state of Missouri. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I hope comes across to our viewers is we don't know it all and don't have all the information. And heck, Darren, you're a Cubs fan and I'm a Reds fan, so we certainly don't know very much about very much.
Right. That's exactly right.
So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We've enjoyed it. Drop us a line, as Darren said. Let us know what's going on in the sports world that we might have missed out on, and we'd love to tell your story. So without further ado, Darren, I'm going to sign off for us tonight. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Absolutely. Had a blast.
Yep. Viewers, you have been watching On Deck with DeRo and Arch. For Eric DeRosset, or for Darren Archer, I am Eric DeRosset. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.